what we've seen growing out of the whole controversy of Roe v. Wade and pro-life and pro-choice are different efforts by the pro-life lobby or people to start to examine whether or not a fetus has rights. Now, under Roe v. Wade and federal law, the fetus does not have rights. Under state law, the state of New York, the fetus does not have rights. There's no rights there.
So many of our laws seem contradictory when it comes to this issue. There was last year a bill before the Congress to protect the other victim of violent crime. So, for instance, it was based on this one particular case where a girl's ex-boyfriend decided he didn't want to be the father of a child, so he had some friends hired to mug her, kick her in the stomach, and cause her to lose the baby. Now, when the crime was filed, she wanted to say, all right, you killed my unborn child that I wanted, and on top of that, you beat me up, but I want these guys, tried for murder of my child. And under the laws of that state, you couldn't, because since the unborn child doesn't exist as a person under law, she could only say, I'm going to sue these guys for the damage they did to me, for the attack they made on me.
There is no real recognition of an unborn child as a human being anywhere in the United States anymore. There is a proposed bill in Albany and in Congress right now called the Unborn Victims of Violence Act, which would change that. That would make it a crime to kill an unborn child, even if the child never was delivered or died in the womb because of the injuries. That bill is being opposed by the abortion industry because they're concerned that this would give some status to that unborn child and damaging to the decision in Roe versus Wade. We are one from throwing out Roe versus Wade, and right now the Supreme Court is at about 5-4 on this issue. So there are 9 members, and it's expected Roe will eventually be overturned.
I think Roe v. Wade will be here. It'll be here for a while. The court consistently, whenever any challenges have come up, backed Roe v. Wade and followed it. But it's always with a lot of dissent there. I mean, Scalia and Thomas, they're not happy with that decision at all. And they think that they created a privacy right which was not existent in the Constitution.
All I can say is that Roe versus Wade is preserves a core principle of freedom for women, the right to control reproduction. It's hard to imagine in a free society that that principle would be overturned.
I'm going to be very honest with you. I don't expect in my lifetime for abortion to be illegal again. I think that we had our test case in a couple of cases, Casey versus Planned Parenthood Supreme Court decision, and I think the court has said, look, even if we don't like abortion, the 5 who are in the majority, even if we hate abortion, bottom line is Americans are used to it, they want it convenient, they're not willing to roll back to that time when abortion was illegal. So I'm not going to kid you. I don't think that we're going to get there.
Ultimately overturned, but it's going to take a considerable change in the makeup of the Supreme Court. And I don't know if that's going to happen anytime in the near future.
I would never want to see the law change. That's where I'm kind of different than a lot of radical Christians. I would never want to see the law changed, because then you would make abortion a dirty thing. You would make it one of those things that happened anyway but wouldn't happen safely. And that's what you had when abortion started. So I would not want to see Roe versus Wade overturned, but I would want women to be more educated on their options of what to do at that point.
I think it's going to take a step-by-step approach, even though we can never lose sight of the goal. Abraham Heschel had a wonderful thing in one of his writings in which he said, all it takes is one person to stand up, and then another, and then another, and then another, until you have a movement. And once you have the movement, and once it succeeds, then you'll discover that it can be a real work of art.